And I remember reading, going, well, I mean, it's, maybe it just makes people a bit weird or whatever. But, you're saying that some people will go out and have more sort of like loose sex because they're looking
Mhm.
for that connection, but they're looking with guys who are not interested in the connection. It's like how people are like they're acting, their habits, how they'll maybe be completely lonely or they won't find true love because they're trying to they always need to fix somebody. And I was like, whoa. And I was looking at my relationships going, oh, okay, that's that. I'm acting like that. And I was like, oh dear God. So how do we know from a starting point? Should we look at our previous relationship? Should we go, that was
Mm.
that, and I was connecting with her because of that? How do we even know what's like healthy and what's good? Is it
Ooh.
worth looking at our previous relationships, or should we be looking at the future? I mean, what's a good starting point for this?
Good question. I have a lot of people come into my coaching for this, and they ask me the same. Like, all right, Adam, you've convinced me that something about attachment is real, but how do I know what I'm doing, and how do I know where my styles are? I say, okay, and I'll walk you through what I do with them. I say, tell me about your dating practices lately. We only need to know enough to get an idea of where you're at because the work is going to be all right in the future. Like you said, let's build better relationships for the future. But where are we at? Um, what do you usually do? Do you seek approval? Do you go in like a nice guy syndrome? Do you go in and you rush in and you tell the girl, you're like, oh, I'm going to take care of everything. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make you happy. I'm going to do this and this and this. And you do all these things to earn her approval, spend all this money on her, and you never, 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 even when she's your girlfriend, ask her for anything. You just do 10 nice things for her and hope she's going to do something nice back for you, and
Hmm.
usually in the bedroom. You hope she's going to rip off your clothes, drag you to the bedroom like a wild jungle predator and have her way with you. And when that doesn't happen, then the guy gets more and more like frustrated and resentful. Like, I'm trying so hard, all the things I know how to do to be good. And why aren't you rewarding me? And that will destroy his relationships over time. But usually, what he's going to do is then find a woman who's more distant, more avoidant. And she's disconnected. She won't share her needs with him. She doesn't know what she wants out of him. She's just kind of managing his feelings. Women who have anxious attachment style chase men with avoidant attachments. It's a constant cycle, the two of I crave approval, but I'm afraid to ever get close because I feel like I don't deserve to be loved. And then chasing somebody who's never going to give you their full approval and full connection but will
Hmm.
make you feel good most of the time and then withdraw. So then you panic and feel like it's your fault. So you chase them. Then they panic because you're chasing them, about to smother them. So the avoidant person runs away and they end up having an affair. Usually it works for 6 to 12 months. It works out. Then it starts fighting. Then they'll start fighting. Then they'll start having problems. And they'll start talking about commitment. And then the avoidant person gets scared. Then they start running and then they'll have an affair usually, or they'll be looking at all kind of graphic material online, or they'll just ghost, or they'll get out, and then a 2 year relationship goes down the drains. And the other person says, "What the heck did I do wrong? I tried to do everything right. I earned so much approval, and I never asked for anything." Well, yeah, that was the problem. You could not be open and honest with the other person about what you needed. You didn't share your needs, and they didn't share their needs. If you stopped and listened to it, you guys didn't bond through compatibility. It was all feelings, 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 feelings all the time and chasing approval and running away from commitment. And that was the dynamic. And that's a lot of modern dating. I'm sure you've probably seen people like that, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when I look at my first ever girlfriend, I remember going
Mm.
in and I just thought this was like kissing, holding hands, all that, just like the usual kind of. And I remember she started like emotional manipulation. It was always
Ooh.
your fault. She always had to have you away from friends. She always had to have you away from. It was like it had to be her, like the whole world, and nothing was ever good
Mhm.
enough. You were always flirting with the barmaid. You're always flirting with the guy here, and like we'd be in a restaurant
Mhm.
with friends, and she'd be like, "Oh, you're flirting with like the waitress or whatever," and it was, we dated on and off for a few years, and I was like,
Mhm.
"What the hell?" So when I went with my second, who was like my true love at that point, and I remember
Mhm.
her being really affectionate, and she was holding my hand. I would get back in the bed at night, she would kiss me, and I'd be like, "What?"